Hey there guys, it's Jamie here again and welcome back to Eat Love Protein. Are you someone like me who loves Thai food, but thinking about trying to cook something like that yourself seems just really impossible? One of my favorite things about getting an Instant Pot is that it makes some of my favorite cuisines like Asian cuisines, Indian, and Thai, like today's recipe, more approachable. So today you're gonna learn how to cook Thai green curry and chicken thighs. It's something you can put together in about 10 minutes and I promise you're not gonna miss the takeout. I chose this recipe to share with you today because not only is it really delicious, but it's also a great high protein, low calorie option that's a nutritionally complete meal. The philosophy of this recipe and everything that I share here is that you can lose weight and build muscle, whatever your health goals are, all while loving your food. You guys, you don't need to follow a restrictive diet that tells you that you have to eliminate the basic building blocks of food: carbohydrates, protein, and fats. Okay? A healthy meal is always a balance of these three macronutrients, and that is the message that I want to share and normalize with my recipes. So any diet that you're following or your fitness community, it should never shame you about the amount of carbohydrates, protein, or fats that you're eating. And if they ever do, I hope that you know that you have a friend here in me, because you can still live a healthy lifestyle and reach your fitness goals. And I love showing you how you can make easy, smart decisions to create lower calorie meals that you'll really love. So if any of that sounds good to you, then make sure that you subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any new recipes as I share new videos with you every single Monday. And with all that being said, let's get into the kitchen. Alright, it's time for voiceover, Jamie. So first, let's talk ingredients. To make this, you're going to need about 1 to 1.5 cups of basmati rice. It must be white rice. You can use medium or long grain rice. Brown rice will not work, so please don't try to use brown rice. Soak your rice for 15 minutes in cold water prior to cooking and then drain. You're also going to need 1 4-ounce, it's approximately 113 gram, container of green curry paste. Or you can substitute with the equivalent amount of green curry powder. We're going to be using the entire container of green curry paste. You're also going to need 4 limes, 1 can, it's a 500 gram can of light coconut milk, 1 to 2 pounds of boneless, skinless chicken thighs, and then you're gonna use the following 3 seasonings to taste for the chicken. It's salt, pepper, and garlic powder. Now, let's also talk about some optional ingredients that you can use, or you can decide to leave them out if you don't have them, but I wanted to share these with you if you want to kick your recipe up a notch. So you could use 1+ servings, which on the back of my frozen spinach is 85 grams of any type of frozen greens, spinach, collard, turnip greens, stuff like that. You could use some 1 or more servings of frozen bell peppers. You could use 2+ tablespoons of ginger powder, or anywhere from 1 to 1.5 tablespoons of ginger paste. You could use half of an onion or onion powder to taste. And then this one we are going to be using today. Oh, I guess we're using the spinach and the bell peppers today as well. But this one we are going to be using today too. It's something called kaffir lime leaves. It's spelled on the screen for you. You can Google this. We're going to be using about 2, 3, or 4. And you can probably find these at your local Asian grocery store. What I did was I bought 1 package of these lime leaves once, and then I froze them because they will defrost, like obviously extremely quickly when you cook with them, and that way they are good forever and I don't have to keep going and buying them. So that's just a tip for you. All right, now you're ready for step 1. Step 1 is to marinate the chicken. So open your chicken and put it in a bag or container. You're going to want to add your entire can of coconut milk, the juice of all of your limes, the container of green curry paste, and then salt, pepper, and garlic powder to taste. A good way to get the right, well, whatever quote unquote right is in your heart, okay? Don't let me tell you what's right for you. But if you want to get the quote unquote right amount of salt, pepper, and garlic powder, I personally like to apply it to one side of the chicken and then flip it over and apply all 3 to the other side of the chicken. That usually gets me personally a pretty good result. Now, you're going to put that in your fridge. We're going to get some help from our good old friend chemistry here. The fat from the coconut milk is actually going to make the chicken thighs really juicy, and the acid from the lime juice is going to help break down the meat and make it really soft and tender. Anyway, I've marinated this for as little as 30 minutes, but a few hours is best. And this one you can do overnight. I don't think the limes are as acidic as the lemons, if you remember what we talked about in our Greek lemon, rice, and chicken thighs recipe, so I think you're actually fine to do this one overnight. Step 2. After you marinate, it's time to sear the chicken. So make sure that you save the marinade liquid because we will be using this later in the recipe for the cooking liquid. Also, I personally get my best results for soaking my rice for 15 minutes prior to cooking. I recommend that you do that too to get the same results that I did. I would start doing that as soon as you're getting everything ready to cook in your Instant Pot. And then you're going to drain your rice after you soak it, prior to putting it into the pot. So in step 2, we're going to sear the chicken thighs for 3 minutes on each side. Now press saute on your Instant Pot. First, open up your chicken. Because I'm trying to make this as low calorie as possible, I'm going to apply oil directly to the chicken thighs. One of the biggest sources of calories in our food isn't necessarily whatever it is that you want to eat. It's actually all the extra fat or oil for cooking it. That's why being mindful of how much cooking fat you use is a great way to take 100 or even more calories off your meal without changing anything else about how it tastes. But you could also put your oil directly into the Instant Pot inner pan if you want. Then I like to put salt, pepper, and garlic powder on that oily side of the chicken. So you take those chicken thighs and then you put them face down for 3 minutes in the pan when it's hot. Then I'll add oil directly to the raw side facing me and more salt, pepper, and garlic powder so that it's ready to flip. Then you're going to cook the second side for another 3 minutes. When that's done, remove the chicken from the pot and set it aside on a plate for later. If you're using fresh onions and garlic, this is where you would want to saute those too. Also, fresh bell peppers, but if you're using frozen bell peppers, you don't have to saute them. When you're done, it's always a safe bet to put a little liquid in the bottom of the pan and scrape everything off to avoid a burn error. Then we're done with saute, so press cancel. Speaking of burn error, spinach and greens are some of the things that can most easily trigger a burn in Instant Pots because they scorch really easily on the bottom of the pan. One of the most important things that will make or break the success of your recipe is how you layer it. For me, I like to think about it like building a campfire. When you're cooking Instant Pot recipes, make sure you pay attention to stuff like the order that you're told to put ingredients in and if it says anything about whether or not to stir. Because sometimes stirring ingredients together before cooking can be another big cause of those burn errors. Usually, if you're not sure, it's better to wait until the end of your cooking time to stir your recipe together. As you cook more Instant Pot recipes, you'll start to learn and get a feel for what ingredients are best to go on the bottom, in the middle, or on top. So make sure you follow the order here on this recipe so that you don't get a burn error. Okay, you've been soaking your rice and you've drained it. So now it's time to put that into your Instant Pot. Make sure that the pan is cool. You can add a little bit of water and dump it out there because sometimes putting rice into the hot pan can cause it to scorch on the bottom and get one of those burn errors. So if you use fresh onions and garlic in there, it's with the rice too. Season with salt, pepper, and garlic powder to taste. I season every layer as I'm adding them. Then add your greens or bell peppers or whatever vegetables you want on the middle, and then put the chicken thighs on top. Now it's time for your liquid. First, pour the marinade liquid from earlier into your Instant Pot. At this point, you will need to consider whether or not you have to add additional cooking liquid or water. As a wise man once said, check yourself before you wreck yourself. This is another key Instant Pot cooking skill, understanding how much liquid the recipe will need. If you don't put in enough liquid, then your Instant Pot won't come to pressure. But on the flip side, you can usually use less liquid than you think because when you're cooking in a pressure cooker, none of that is evaporating. So it's really a balancing act. But overall, it's better to err on the side of a little bit more liquid rather than less, because extra liquid can always be boiled off, but if there's not enough, you can get a burn message, and at that point, it can be really annoying to try to fix your dish. And how you should know I approach my recipes is that you want a 1-to-1 ratio of rice to cooking liquid for Instant Pot cooking. And you also have to keep in mind that I'm using a 6-quart Instant Pot. So that model of Instant Pot recommends a minimum of 1 cup of liquid to come to pressure. If you're using a different pressure cooker than I am, you can use that knowledge as a baseline to kind of multiply or divide this recipe however you need to, depending on what minimum amount of liquid your pressure cooker needs. Anyway, you want to have at least a 1-to-1 ratio of liquid to rice that you used, and then you also need to think about the volume of the other vegetables and the meat that you added. So think about the ingredients like greens, bell peppers, meat, and rice like sliders. If you use the max amount of rice, bell peppers, spinach, and chicken, then you're definitely going to need more than 1 cup of cooking liquid. Overall, you want to try to cover the rice and vegetables and have your liquid making contact up to at least the halfway point of the protein. I hope that helps. It sounds kind of strange, but just keep experimenting with it and you're going to get the hang of it really quickly. Anyway, now close your Instant Pot and select manual pressure on high pressure if it gives you the option, and if it doesn't give you an option, you can just use your manual pressure setting for 5 minutes. And you're done, fam. So now you can do a natural release for 10 minutes when it beeps. And that just means that you wait for 10 minutes after it beeps. Then you vent it, and then it's ready to serve. You can take the chicken off the top and mix up the rice, the vegetables, and then plate. But before you go, let's have a quick conversation about troubleshooting. Okay, so now let's talk troubleshooting. Cooking with coconut milk can be really tricky in an Instant Pot because it's thick and it's kind of sugary and it tends to scorch on the bottom of the pot. But the results are really delicious, so I highly recommend mastering it. Keep in mind what I said earlier, right? More liquid is better than less because you can always boil it off and shave off a little bit next time. That's actually what I do with recipes on my first time. I try to use a little bit more liquid the first time that I make it, and then every other time I'll cut it back again, a little by little, until I know the actual Goldilocks amount that's kind of like the minimum viable amount of water to make the recipe work. But if this recipe does give you a burn notice, here's how you can salvage it. In the past, I've had mine almost come to pressure or like just came to pressure, but then it triggered a burn, which cuts off the cooking process. That's a real bummer and it can be really annoying when that happens. So in this situation, what I did was that I put the saute mode on my Instant Pot, and then I supervised my Instant Pot for the 5 minutes of cook time, and I just made sure that the pin was like popped on the Instant Pot. I made sure that I supervised it for the total cook time, and then I just canceled that. So not every model of Instant Pot is going to let you use the saute mode with the lid on it, but mine does, so I wanted to share that strategy with you. Another tip that I read while I was looking for inspiration of other people's curry recipes is that sometimes they'll put an actual like literal 1/4 cup of water into the recipe. So as you saw in the video, I didn't exactly use a 1/4 cup, I used just a little bit of extra water. But if it's your first time making this recipe, I would highly recommend, why not start with that? Add a 1/4 cup of it and then follow the directions the way that I described them. And then, like I said, you can cut it back little by little from there to find that Goldilocks amount so that you don't have to boil anything extra off at the end. Also, as you know, at the end of my recipes, I always check the chicken temperature with a meat thermometer because I want to make sure that it cooked all the way through. I also do this with the rice, so that's why I personally do feel comfortable using the chicken marinade as the cooking liquid for my recipes in the way that I've done. Sometimes places don't exactly recommend to do that, but personally, I use a meat thermometer and I make sure that the rice as well has come above 165 degrees, and it usually is like 200 degrees or something by the time I finish this stuff. Oh, that's Fahrenheit. I don't know what it is in Celsius, but that's just a reason for that as well. Now you know how to recreate your favorite Thai restaurant at home, but what about Indian or Japanese or Vietnamese or Chinese? If you want to get more of these takeout killers that are low calorie, high protein, and high taste, then make sure that you subscribe to me to get your weekly recipes. So you can go to eatloveprotein.com and sign up for the newsletter if you want to get a text version of my recipe of the week sent straight to you. Also, I wanted to give a huge thank you to everybody who has been supporting the show on Patreon, because without you, this show wouldn't be possible. If you really love the messages that I'm putting out and the recipes that I'm sharing, and if you want to become a supporter of the show as well, you can just go to eatloveprotein.com/support to become a patron of the show. If you want some other ideas for chicken and rice dishes that can easily be kind of subdivided into like 400 to 500 calorie portions with over 30 grams of protein, then you're definitely going to want to check out some of the other videos that I posted on this channel, where we did kind of a Mexican and a Greek variation on a theme kind of similar to what we did today. So if you decide to give this recipe a try, I really hope that you love it. If you do love it, then please leave me a comment and let me know, because I would love to share your comment in a future video. Also, if you can help me out, I'm on a mission to find my first 1,000 true fans. So if you like what I'm sharing, please consider becoming a part of my community by subscribing to my channel and liking this video. So thank you so much once again for watching today's recipe, and I'll see you next Monday.